Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the End of Mind podcast. I'm here as your host, Caitlin. This is Samantha. Thanks so much for being here today with us.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I am excited for this conversation.
It's going to be great. For the listeners, Samantha and I were just catching up and chatting and discussing a little bit about marketing, the marketing world, what's going on in our sphere. So, can you just introduce yourself and tell our guests, excuse me, our audience a little bit about you?
Yes, I am Samantha Siffring. I live in Denver, Colorado. I am a marketing and business strategist, and I have been doing this basically my whole career in a lot of contexts. For the past 10 ish years, I have had my own coaching and consulting business. And I've worked a lot with moms. That's how I got started in this. I was home with little kids, and this was like back pre COVID, like before online work was really established as a thing. And I had young children. I also had, a master's degree in training and career aspirations, but wanted flexibility in that. So ended up getting into coaching and then marketing consulting. And that is really like how I continued to build my career. Lots of other moms were like, how are you doing this? I want to do this. So I ended up building a business essentially all around that concept of helping a mom take their expertise into an online business that was flexible, where she could still be growing her career, making money, but feel more in control over what the work looked like.
Oh, it's so good. What you provide is so needed. I know I told you that last time we chatted, and I've worked with moms as well. And I just know, like, stepping into this next phase of my life, how important it is to just know how your energy is being spent and who you're spending energy on, which kind of leads me to our next topic of conversation. With social media nowadays and marketing as a whole, what do you tell your clients when they come to you and they think that they should be creating all of this content, or that's the only way that they'll be able to build their careers? What's your advice?
Yeah, I think the advice that I always have is we have to look at what they're trying to do. What's the purpose? Who are they trying to reach? What are they trying to make happen with the marketing? I think sometimes when we get into business, I know it was this way for myself, even coming from having a marketing background. You look around at what are all of the successful people doing, or the people that I think are successful. What are they doing? I'll just do that. And at the time when I was first coming into the online business space, it was like, oh, I need to be on Instagram posting every day, like posting quotes, not from myself, from random people. And just like, I need to have these email funnels with these freebies, and I need to have courses that are leading to my more expensive thing. And I had no audience. Like, it just made no sense at all. And it was like, my mom and my best friend on my email list. And I was sending a weekly email and feeling bad if I missed it. And I see that still. So, like, this was almost 10 years ago. I still see people who feel the pressure of Instagram, but don't really have good stuff to post there. I still see people who feel the pressure around the email list and all of these things. And of course, now there's all these other platforms where people feel pressured to post. And yet, it doesn't get them a result. And a lot of times, my clients will come to me and be like, oh, I feel so bad. I'm not being consistent. And I'm like, maybe that's logical
Yeah.
because you're not getting a result from it. So let's think about what's the result we want and work backwards from there on the strategy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I see people, myself even, right? Like I feel the pressure to show up and be present. And if I don't do that, like the guilt does bubble up. So I can resonate. And I can also see where in today's world that probably isn't where our time is best spent. And a lot of our listeners are maybe just getting started. So this is like a perfect topic for us. What would you recommend if they are struggling to get leads and really see a volume of like paying clients come through the door? Because everybody always wants something like free. I feel like, especially from us marketers, they just think
Mm-hmm.
we can pull anything out for free. So I'd love to know what you tell your clients with that.
Yes, I think we're probably really aligned on this. And I have always taught people this. If you're just starting out, you need to focus more on networking and conversations than putting content out. I think there's some value in having some content out there after you've talked to somebody, then they want to see, like, are you legitimate? We want to have some kind of online presence to support that. But really, your clients at the beginning are going to come from the existing network you already have and then the network you work to create right now.
Oh, I totally agree. I used to say this to my clients, and this was like back in 2019 as well. And they would kind of come to me like, how do I become like this international star? Entrepreneurship is like the modern day pop stars. Like, we don't dream, a lot of us don't dream about being on a big stage. Like, we dream about being on a big stage and giving a speech, not like singing.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to always say you have to become a local industry leader before you can become a national industry leader. Looking back, that probably wasn't clear to what they should be doing, but I'm a firm believer in networking. Like, if people aren't networking, you're probably not going to build a consistent pipeline for your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And and I think really when there are so many people now who have expertise, who are able to reach anyone all over the world, it's so much harder to differentiate yourself. And even from a few years ago, like there was a time in my business, 2019 through 2021, I was a pretty prolific content creator and just creating a ton of content that's super valuable really was a differentiator and really was helpful. And then Chat GPT and Claude and all of that come along, and it's not anymore because those things are more prolific than any human could ever be. And even if it's not as valuable or engaging, it's put out a lot of bulk out there that people have to sort through to even find your stuff that might be more interesting. So it's a harder landscape than it was before. So I think really your best differentiator now is being the person that people know. And I always give the example, like most of my clients have an online business, but I love the example of like if your neighbor was a plumber and like your sink, toilet, whatever is starting to like back up and have an emergency problem and you need somebody right now, you're not like going and like looking on TikTok or whatever. You are remembering my neighbor is a plumber. They're right next door. I'm going to call them. I'm going to run over to their house, whatever it is, and I'm going to get help because I already know this person. I already trust this person and like they can solve my problem. That is really how you're going to be getting most of your clients at this point. I think is being that person that they already know and they already trust.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I couldn't agree more. And especially like, I hate to go back to talking to marketers specifically, but I know a lot of our listeners are also in marketing of some level. And because we come with, maybe not the best reputation just as marketing as a whole, because so many people have been burned or like you have to rebuild that trust with clients. What I've found is my name, like going back from being generational entrepreneurs has really helped me locally. And I never focused on that until this year. Like I've networked locally, but I haven't networked with like the caliber of people that my family has networked with. And it's been the biggest game changer for me. Like they already know me, they already trust me. It's more about like how much do you charge? It's not a you should hire me. Like they're ready to hire. What do you see in your clients that have that type of shift in their business? Are they able to become very successful with their pipelines? Like, when do you kind of see that come about?
Yeah. Well, just in hearing that story, the thing that came to mind for me is a client of mine who uses basically no social media at all. And she's an executive coach. She works with a very high caliber client and like executive level kind of client. And they're not scrolling on Instagram to like find their coach, like maybe they're like zoned out on Instagram or like not making high level decisions there. That's not what they're going to Instagram for. And that was part of our conversation, is like meeting them where they are, not necessarily like everyone's on whatever platform, but more of like, let's be strategic about where are they looking for the thing you're offering. And she is a very well networked person. She had a long corporate career. She knows people who know everyone.
Yeah.
So, really, for her, it's been about leaning on that. And the more clients she works with, the more opportunities she gets. And she gets a lot of speaking engagements. And that now is a major pipeline for her. It's basically like referrals and speaking engagements. And she gets the speaking engagements from the network.
Wow.
So, really, it's all coming from the network there. And like I said, she's got the online presence for that, validity if somebody's looking her up, but it's pretty simple. Like, I always encourage people to have like a what I call proof of life strategy on certain platforms. For her, she does that on Instagram and LinkedIn, where it's like maybe once a month or a couple times a month, put something out there that's valuable, that is like a pulse. Like, yes, I am still in business, I still exist. But it's not really like driving a bunch of leads. It's more of like that extra trust point to the lead that she's already generated.
It's such a good tip. That reminds me of a story like a few years ago when pinned posts came out, and
Mm-hmm.
I had pinned a post from like whatever, like 2019. It was like an early on post, but got a lot of engagement. And I had a potential client reach out to me and ask me if I was still in business because it was pinned above, like my recent posts. And I think that that's what so many people forget. We hear all the time, target your ideal client, know who your ideal client is. But when you really think about who they are, like at least for me, my clients know little to nothing about social media or online presence. Like that's why they're hiring us. They have no desire
Mm-hmm.
to learn it most of the time,
Right.
especially the fractional CMO offer. So knowing that your client may not even like social media, why are you wasting so much time on it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it just, I feel for people right now who are trying to grow on social media. I will say I have a handful of clients who are really successful on certain platforms, because there are some platforms that the algorithm there is, it is just set up in such a way that it wants to connect you with people who want to see you. Instagram is not that place.
No.
My heart hurts for anyone who is trying to grow on Instagram right now. And when I have a client who's trying to do it, I'm always just like, please, can we look somewhere else? Because it is a losing game, and you're going to put in so much energy and effort that is going to really most likely get you nowhere when there's so many other places and methods to connect with somebody who wants what you offer.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. And like the flip side to this, right, is if you do utilize Facebook, like the benefit of the business suite for my client right now that I'm working heavily with, a lot of their clients are on Facebook. So
Yes.
it makes sense to just cross post to Instagram, but like
Right.
majority of the marketing and the push, right, of connecting with people, the low hanging fruit of Facebook groups is coming on Facebook, even though the platforms are connected. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's the um, intentional type of check in that a lot of business owners don't do. And then they end up, I know for me, like I just would create busy work for myself and then I'd be
Yeah.
exhausted. And I'm like, I haven't even seen a client yet today. Do you find that your clients become burnt out as they are, trying to grow on Instagram, or if they're not seeing growth there, do they become obsessive with it? Like we've even talked about social media addictions on this podcast before. I found a few years ago a lot of my clients struggled with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do see that. I feel like I see a couple of different things with it. One for sure is the burnout, especially when they're not seeing traction on a platform, which is why Instagram in particular is like on my bad list, because
Yeah.
I'm just like, it is frustrating as a platform. But even on places like, for instance, TikTok, I have a handful of clients where that's a really good fit for them. That algorithm is set up so well for the right kind of business to really take off. But it can be really hard not to get obsessive about the stats and to really have big emotional ups and downs with
Yeah.
the stats when like you're at the mercy of all of these platforms. And that is a huge difference versus your own network and your own efforts having conversations with people where you just have so much more control over, are you getting in front of that person? What are they hearing from you? What are you hearing from them that then you can kind of bounce off of and go back and forth, which I think most of us do better in
Yeah.
that situation when we're able to respond to what somebody's putting out there and see how they respond to what we put out there in real time. So I think even for people who are really successful online, it can be a real struggle with managing their mental health and the emotional swings that come with it. So I think for everybody, it's beneficial to have their like, what's happening offline kind of methods of marketing.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but like I really believe that there's this shift coming in just business careers, and like that's one of the reasons why I love AI. Like I'm like one of the outliers. I feel like it's paving a path for humans to get their lives back and not be so focused on work all the time. Like I live on the East Coast. Everyone here is constantly working. Like even myself, like I go to bed on a Saturday night. I'm like, let me just check Facebook and see if anybody's asking any questions for my clients. Eventually, there will be a way to find a happy medium and like a balance. I choose to do that, right? Because I love to work. But I know
Mhm.
so many people that don't feel that way and feel so overwhelmed, right? Like by entrepreneurship in particular. So this is kind of like a two-part question. You mentioned platforms that were the algorithm was set up better to expose you to clients. Can you tell us a little bit about those platforms and like where your clients have found success?
Yes. So I already mentioned TikTok is one of them. I'm seeing it on Threads also. I think Threads is a really great one. And then to a lesser extent, LinkedIn. It kind of depends who your people are, but that for sure is a space that I'm noticing is kind of similar to TikTok and Threads, where it picks up on what your interests are and starts to show you more of that. Facebook, I think it kind of varies. I built my business on Facebook with Facebook groups. I am a huge believer in it. When you can find those community spaces, like
Yeah.
I think Facebook is a really good one for facilitating engagement and community. Like even Reddit for some businesses can be that way too. And then I think beyond that, you do want to be thinking about, how am I being found by search and AI search?
Yeah.
And I still am seeing a lot of people who have success with like SEO. Like, for instance, I have even seen that with my own website. I really put a lot of intention into SEO and saw a massive difference. I saw somebody use like a secret coupon code that I gave to Chat GPT. They used it to buy my course, which
Whoa.
people online were like, that's not possible. You must have shared that code somewhere else. And I was like, I literally didn't. I made it for Chat GPT.
Whoa. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are the types of things where, like, now you don't even have to have that technical expertise. You can literally ask those platforms, like, hey, how can I get people to like find me through search? Or how can I get you to recommend me to people? What do you need to know about my business to recommend me more? That kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I learned about like some advanced SEO stuff that I didn't even know existed, like these like
Yeah.
other settings and stuff on my website that most people are not doing unless they have technical expertise, just literally asking Chat GPT questions about it. So I think that there's a lot of fun things there too that are constantly changing, that your AI assistant can help you with all of that.
Yeah, exactly. I felt the same way. I started using AI for like SEO research. It saves you time. You don't have to buy the platforms unless you want to cross check. But most of the time, it's pretty on point with what keywords to tag. And I think that SEO is really making a comeback. One of the reasons why I think that, like for the listeners too, to like tie this together, a lot of these platforms have started to data share and like they're sharing the logins or whatever from Google to Facebook and vice versa, even Instagram now, like they're starting to collaborate. And when they've done that is now they've united the databases, which actually really makes the user experience so much easier. Sometimes can be a little loud for that reason, but I think that it really does benefit us as business owners. And it allows us to utilize, okay, now we know we're getting seen on Google because we've been posting 3 times a week as a social media post there. Let's dive in, revamp the website, do the SEO. Like, where is your time best spent? I think marketing is also about really experimenting. I would love to know
Mm-hmm.
your opinion on that and like how you help your clients. Maybe they're so early on, they're like, whoa, right? Where do I even begin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think experimenting is important at all stages, but especially at the beginning, because you don't want to be fully committed to a strategy that has no evidence that it's going to work and be like continuing down this path with it and never having it prove that it is valid. So I think, especially at the beginning, it is to me like the scientific method where it's like, okay, we want to have an educated guess. Like, this has to be a good hypothesis. It can't just be like, Susie's on Instagram. It has to be, these are my people. This is where I know they're looking for my stuff. This is how I think that I can get myself found on that platform, or whatever the strategy is that you're testing out. And then kind of think through what what do I think needs to happen for that to really start to work? How long do I think that that is going to take to start to work? And this is when working with people like us is so helpful, because we have a good idea of both what strategies work and how long it will take to see them working, and like what those early signs are that they're working, because it's not going to be, I signed the client right away. That's going to be the last indicator that it's working. So, you want to have that strategy, that hypothesis, and then really give it a full try. You don't want to, kind of half ass your plan and then be like, well, it didn't really work because I didn't really go all out with it. Like, I always see that with people. And it's like, no, now we don't know. Like, now this is like unusable data that we got because we didn't fully implement the plan that we thought was necessary to get the result. So then we don't know, is the plan wrong, or is it just that we didn't fully do the plan? So I think, yeah, absolutely. You want to be doing that. You want to be testing things out. And then as you're more established, the market is always changing.
Yeah.
Like, once you figure out what works, don't get too cozy because things are going to be changing. So you have to always continue that experimentation process. And that again goes back to why I think relationships and networking are so important, because there's always these changes, but that relationship side of it, that doesn't change. Like, that is always going to work. That's always going to be valuable. If it brings you clients now, it always will, if you continue to invest in it. So, make sure that that never goes away as a stream.
Such great advice. I was actually going to ask you more about the clients that you've worked with that have, maybe millions and millions of dollars of income a year. And what I see at times, and I'd love to know your opinion, is they get stuck in their ways, right? They've worked with a marketer. Maybe they've even fibbed some of the marketers that they've worked with, and they're like, you're getting so many website clicks. And they're like, well, none of the leads are coming in. So they end up getting frustrated and firing that marketer, which may or may not be the right thing to do, just like full disclaimer, and hopefully bringing someone else in. But I find so many clients, they just sit and they wait and they expect the business to keep growing without active marketing. What do you see in that space? And I mean, I've seen clients like businesses fail, right? If they don't continue marketing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion on that? And do you ever think that there should be a downtime, like as the company's reaching these different milestones of income?
Yeah, downtime, no.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I definitely don't think so. And I think though, I have seen a lot of people, including myself, hit that point of business and decide that's not what I want. Like
Yeah,
kind of recognize the reality of like when my business was starting to do over 1 million a year consistently, the reality of every bit of it was like, oh, this is a lot.
yeah,
And it is hard to make that leap to be able to get yourself out of it with it continuing to sustain. And I actually like I don't know that I've seen anybody in the coaching space be able to do that.
I completely,
Um
yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah,
because coaching is so much of a personal brand. Even if you try to make it not a personal brand, it still depends so much on you. And so anybody who's wanting to like really scale beyond that, I would recommend that they do not probably do it via personal brand because it's hard to get yourself out of that ever. And you don't ever want to sell your name either.
right. Yes.
That causes problems for people. So yeah, I think no downtime, unfortunately. And I have seen so many people who get to sometimes it's like, the low six figures, sometimes it's the seven figures where then they're like, okay, great. Now I have all of this money that I can be investing in all these things. And then they start to delegate out their thinking around marketing because they think these marketers that they hire know better than them
Yeah.
when they're the one who actually got it to the place where it is now. And no matter how amazing the marketers are that you hire, I just think never, ever turn off your brain in this. Like they do not know better than you if you are the one who has built it to this successful place. And it's hard to find the right fit. It is hard
Yeah.
to find like an ads person who is amazing and really the right fit for you. It's hard to find somebody to run your social media who can do it as well as you, especially if you have really established it. Like if you a lot of your clients where like that isn't the case, they're like social media, I don't want it, and then you
Yeah.
come in and build it up for them. Yes, that's going to be amazing. But like if they have built a personal brand and they're trying to have somebody come in and replicate that on their behalf, I really haven't seen it be effective, unfortunately.
No, I feel the same way because there's also this as a marketer, you want the client to release,
Mm-hmm.
some of the duties and they tend to like white knuckle it, right? Which I totally understand.
Yeah.
And when they built it and they put so much time into it, they're like, well, what if you mess it up? Or like, if you forget to do this thing? When I was
Yeah.
working with Bentley and Rolls Royce, that was a huge hurdle that we had to get through because their marketing department is fantastic. I mean, really powerhouse people. And I just felt so honored to be alongside of them. I really don't think the trust was fully developed until I met them in person. And
Mm-hmm.
that kind of leads us back to the
Yep.
networking and like a lot of the higher paying clients that I have now, I'm working with them in person. And I
Mm-hmm.
want entrepreneurs to understand that differentiating factor. It's like really is such a change. And I feel more a part of the business too, in a weird way. Like I feel like I really know these people and they
Mm-hmm.
know me. And it's definitely a different energetic exchange versus just like a Zoom call once a week.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when you don't have that in person time, it's a lot easier to let the silence spiral into like bad intent or like
Yeah.
reading things as like a negative versus when you actually know that person in person and regularly are seeing them, it's so much easier to remember like, oh, I know them, I know their intentions are good, I know that like if I didn't hear back from them that like maybe it got lost in their inbox versus they're ghosting me and stealing my money or whatever, like that trust really really matters.
It's been such a unique experience for me because as we both mentioned, like we've been in this game for so long I'm working online for so long. And now people know like I'm just a bubbly person. Like it really doesn't matter the time of day. Like this is just truly who I am at my core. Unless I'm having like a really off day. Like we all have those days. But I was even in person with them today and they were like, Caitlin's here. Like they still text me like LOL, right? It's like you start to like mimic each other's behaviors and
Yeah.
understand each other's energy. And it does like take the relationship to a next level. And I also have a lot of, I can empathize with people that only work online because you sometimes really want to develop that relationship, but like you have no opportunity to meet your clients in person, which it kind of also loops back to that local
Mhm.
anchor, hopefully. So tell us what's coming next for you, what's in the cards, anything that you're comfortable sharing with us, and just tell us like what we can expect to see from you if we do follow you online, which we all will, and
Yes.
get the updates.
Yes. Okay. So when is this going to be published? I feel like that's part of my how much I want to share.
That makes a lot of sense. Let me look it up so that I can give you like the exact date because my lovely team creates this list for me. Thank
That's
goodness.
amazing.
Because I'm like I could never keep track of it. So it looks like we are a little bit further out, like um all the way through almost like Memorial Day weekend is where
Nice.
we're looking at. So we're looking at like almost 2 months out, and we can push it back further if you'd like.
Yeah. No, I think that this is good. I I'm still figuring out what I want my, going public announcement timeline to look like. But I do want to share here that I am making the pivot back to the corporate space and yes, and looking for opportunities right now. And once again, seeing the importance of the network
Yeah.
and absolutely everything that I teach for marketing and how it applies to the job search as well, like on so many levels. It's almost like a mini business launch, but just looking for one client, which is kind of an interesting change. But that has been exciting. So there's not much to see from me online. I have been really focused on this. I've stepped back from any like business promo. Um, Probably by the time this is out, I will be back in the groove of posting some content here and there. I'm planning to keep my Mama to CEO course available for moms who are in that space of wanting to figure out how to do this. And it talks about how to package up your services. It talks about both the networking side of marketing, but then also putting content out there. It talks about how to sell if you don't have a lot of sales experience or if you don't like selling, how to do that in a way that feels really good to you and the client. And then just like basics of like how to balance business and life. So that will continue to be available for people who are interested because that's something you can just hop right into and learn at your own pace.
Yeah, perfect. And we'll have all the links in the show notes below. And I just want to encourage everyone to go and follow Samantha on LinkedIn so you can be updated by her
Yes.
lovely
Yes.
adjustment. And I just also want to congratulate you. I shared with you before this call, and I actually haven't shared this on the show yet either, but I've made the position into like fractional chief marketing officer role. And I love working with one business. Like we still have the agency, just like you still will have your courses. And I'm sure if you find a client that it makes sense, right? Like there's always differentiation factors and boundaries that we can set for ourselves. But it's been such a relief for all of our marketers out there. You get it. When you're working on 20 businesses plus at once, it is so draining. And one sounds like a
Mm-hmm.
piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think also just ready for a new industry and a new opportunity to grow. I think that that is something that maybe I didn't fully grasp. Like, I think in my own business, I felt like, oh, I'm always going to be growing. And then kind of like stepping back, unscaling all of the stuff that I had built up. And then for, the past couple of years, mostly just having a handful of one-on-one clients, I think I have been feeling that itch of growth again, but it's like, okay, but I don't want to do it the way that I did it with the business. I want to join into someone else's business and have that opportunity to help them grow and to also grow with them.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for a new challenge.
So exciting. I'm so happy for you. And we'll all be rooting you on and supporting you from afar and
Thank
following
you.
along too. So thanks so much for being here. This was
Yeah.
such a great conversation.
Thank you so much.